felt like they had a respect for the people that would be using each of these elements, because so often, like, the argument against it is them going, but it's their artistic vision. They've built it to be played this one particular way, and to make any alterations to it at all would be the destruction of art for communism. But that's where you have to go. You need to get your head out of your ass and go, you're making something for people. People know what they will make things better for them. And if it's not something that they need, they can choose it to make it something that makes it better for them. And I was surprised the slow down time it applies to anything spoken, any words in the game, any cutscene. The high contrast mode will go until you turn it off, and it just if they didn't respect the players, they would have it automatically go, oh, but this bit's really important, so we're going to make sure that the player can't use high contrast and can't slow it down. Was that your impression?
Yeah, definitely. And the way I always come at this argument of the artistic vision argument is that, what use is having that artistic vision if a lot of the people who want to play your game just can't play it at all? Like, for me personally, I would gladly sacrifice any artistic vision if it means I can play the game, because that's much more fulfilling for the player than just hearing about the game or reading about it, or watching somebody else play it is, yeah, it's good, but it's nowhere near being able to do it yourself. And I think that again is probably something that within the industry they're becoming more wise to, is that there's a lot of kind of an untapped market out there. Like, I know there's the purple pound, as it's known, which is the sort of the spending power of disabled people, is sort of, I think, about 250 billion in the UK alone. And if, let's imagine that the video game industry is like the tiniest amount of that pie, you're at least talking maybe millions there. So, I think, yeah, all very well to have your artistic vision, but yeah, like you said, get your head out of your ass and make sure that as many people who want to play your game just can play it. Because not only is that going to earn you a lot of kudos, as it has with Naughty Dog, they've gained a lot of plaudits, rightfully so, for what they've done. And so much so that people like me, I would never buy a remastered game, because games are bloody expensive these days. But I bought it because it was accessible, and I want to support companies to continue to do that. So not only will they gain plaudits, but these are all multi-million pound and dollar businesses, certainly the AAA ones. They're going to get a lot of money out of it as well, which is obviously not of interest to us, but it is to them.
So if Naughty Dog is like the gold standard in terms of making an accessible game, building it from the ground up and not as an afterthought that's just added on or stapled on, do you think that there is room for improvements to be made in the future?
Oh yeah, even from Naughty Dog, to be honest. Like, one of the areas that I think, speaking about The Last of Us in particular, that it was lacking is any kind of audio description for the gameplay scenes, the gameplay moments. Like, I know I've said it as a screen reader, but like, I don't know, if you're playing as sort of Ellie in the second game or something, and she goes to write something in her diary, like, you have no idea that she's doing that until a notification pops up saying, diary entry, press touchpad to view.
Yes.
If she started writing in her diary, and audio description lady came back and said, Ellie writes in her diary or something like that, then again, that's a whole new level of immersion added. And I'm lucky in that I have some useful vision, so to a degree, I can appreciate sort of the amazing environments that the game has. But a lot of people who maybe have even less vision than I do, or no vision at all, maybe probably can't um, appreciate that to the same extent. So something like audio description in the gameplay moments, I think, would be a huge step forward for Naughty Dog with whatever they do next. And I'm hopeful that something can be done, because again, it would just enhance the entire experience so much more. But it in terms of the industry as a whole, I think it's going to be hard, and it's going to take a lot of years for like Naughty Dog's level of accessibility to be the standard. I can't see that happening in the next probably 5-10 years even. But if some of those core features that are there to assist people with different kinds of disabilities, if a few of those core features make their way into games as standard, then I think that's going to be sort of an incredible start. Because like if you think back to 2020, at the time when The Last of Us Part 2 came out, it was essentially like going from no accessibility in a PlayStation game. It was sort of the levels of accessibility were that poor, I found. It was like going from 0 to 100. They sort of completely, they raised the bar that high that it's sort of impossible to reach the bar. So I think it's going to take a long while for the industry to catch up. They just need a bit of a nudge, really, to get them along the way.
Yeah. I'm quite positive in that I think the gaming developers are generally quite competitive with each other. They have to be, because their job is to sell a lot of games and compete with each other. So hopefully the legacy of Naughty Dog, kind of leaving a marker, as it were, will hopefully inspire a lot of other bigger game developers and smaller ones, like literally all game developers, to kind of think about accessibility from the start and actually incorporate it into the game right from the beginning, rather than just thinking, oh, or maybe we should do this, and then we'll just leave it because we don't have the time or the budget or whatever
Yeah.
else. But
And I think as well that they do have that competitive aspect, but I think there's also an element of they need to work together on this as well, and share ideas,
yeah,
and share research, and just collaborate to make sure that it gets better across the board. The organisation I work for ran sort of an event, I think just last month actually, in Scotland, around accessible gaming, and they invited sort of a lot of people that work across the gaming sector, and there was sort of representatives from Microsoft and Google and lots of other small, indie, large game companies were there. And sort of over 2 or 3 days, they just discussed accessibility and how it can become more involved in the sort of development process for games, and just how accessibility can become more central to the process. And I think events such as that are obviously vital as well, just to share knowledge and resources, really. And I think just touching on the how it can get better. I know that we've spoken about The Last of Us quite extensively, but the one area we've not like touched on is, or the one area that's still quite a difficult one to consider, is online gaming. Because The Last of Us Part 1 and 2 both completely single player, and they are supposedly making an online game, The Last of Us online multiplayer mode, but they've said that's been coming since 2020, so who knows what's going on with it. But I am excited to see if they can bring what they've done offline into the online space, because I think you've talked to Matt about some of the the arguments that people on the internet have against accessibility. Those arguments are going to be ramped up 100 times that when it comes to accessibility features being in online games, aren't they? Because I can just imagine being labelled like a cheat or something like that for using the screen reader or something.
You just absolutely made my head explode with that it's interesting. As you're thinking, I heard a wonderful bit of information recently about how when in schools, I think it was either in America or in England, you were forced to write right-handed. And
yes.
so all the evidence said that 100% of people are right-handed. But when they stopped forcing people to write right-handed, all of a sudden they think, "Oh my God, left-handed people exist now." And they go,
But yes.
"Hang on a minute, they've always been there. People who want to play games but can't because of accessibility issues, they've always been there. That purple pound is still a pound, and it's the pound that they want." And I was thinking that that story games, obviously that it's perfect for story games because they're insular experiences that you can control exactly what happens all the way through. But they're not the most successful games. Can you imagine the Fortnite and Call of Duty? How many untold millions of players would be able to play it, and how much more revenue that would generate? So I bet that because I know capitalism is at the heart of all these positive, altruistic things games seem to be is good, but they're only doing it because of the money, and that has just filled a great big blank
I can almost
hole in the
imagine.
equation.
I can almost imagine EA implementing loads of accessibility features into something like Apex Legends and making them like microtransactions.
Yeah.
If anybody would do that, I could see them saying, "Give us £2.50 and you can have
5 minutes of audio
podcast."
description.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a ticker on a taxi.
Yeah. Oh dear. No, that's funny though, because you mentioned about sharing things as well, and EA's notorious for not sharing. If it was them that did Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, isn't it? Yeah, because they had the Nemesis system, and then they've basically made it so that no other developers can use it in any of their games. I don't know if that's.
I think sorry.
There you go.
Another thing Ross said about the Naughty Dog is the cutting edge. It's the current apex of accessibility, but I think it's going to be just like with cars. Like they start off going, "Oh my God, this car that only the wealthiest people can afford," and how everyone's got a car, and it's a million times better than it was than the first cars. And so much like my after having my mind blown by the enhanced listening mode, I had so I thought there's the guy on Twitter and Twitch and everything. I think he's called the Sightless Gamer or something. He's blind and he plays games and streams it. And I just thought, oh, this listening mode's really good. So I tried playing it with my eyes shut, and it was good, but I couldn't tell where I was going. It wasn't that good. And I think the most incredible Apex I could think of would be like a sonar game mode where you could literally, it's just like you're a bat or a clicker because they listen to everything, and it goes ooh, and so you can tell, oh, there's a door there, there's grass there that I can hide in. and it just really feels like the limit is the studio's imagination. They just need to commit the resources to it. And one thing that, like the screen reader, I tried that for a little bit. It impressed me that it's quick. It reads everything really quickly, like open photo mode. It doesn't go opening photo mode and waste your time. I think it just games should have the screen reader on by default, but they want to go, oh, but we've got our first image of the open window with the sunlight or the boat floating on the dock. Now, our artistic vision has to come first. And go, you could just have a narrator voice. That would be the luxury future. You could have an actual person reading it out as if it's part of the story. It's just the imagination, the sky's the limit.
I think having sort of a, like you described, like a sonar type game, I think if you'd have suggested that 5 years ago, I'd have thought that's like completely impossible. But now my attitude is, at least, why not? If they've already done what they've already done, then surely that must be doable. I mean, they already have like the feature where if you press the L3 button, the left analog stick, it will direct you in the way you need to go, which again is another life-saving feature for me because I can never see where I need to go. And just pressing that, yeah, it points you in the direction you need to go to progress the story. And that's no matter where you stood on the game, it works faultlessly. So, if they've already got that kind of navigation assistance and being able to detect when you're at like the edge of a mountain or something, when there's a hazard there, and it sort of veers you away from it, and it can assist you with jumping and things like that. If they can already have those sort of navigation assistance in there, then why not? Let us all feel like we're in a submarine or something.
And there's also, you mentioned the haptic feedback. Everyone's going, oh, that's going to enhance everyone's gameplay. You can feel the twine of a bow as it twists as you pull the bow. You can use that to guide people. You can have the most subtle rumble in one area of the controller could go, oh, it's strong directly in front but weak to 45 degrees. That means there's a wall in front of me and a door to my right. Just all those elements, the subtlety and nuance that is possible now for everyone developing games. That's why it's so exciting to care about this stuff. Like just it's mental to
Especially
not
next
be to
gen,
not
right?
be
Yeah, definitely
absolutely.
for next gen as well.
When I played The Last of Us Part 2 on the PS4, the PS4 sounded like it was going to like take off into space. It did not cope very well. But playing that game on the PS5, and then with the Part 1 remake that they made for the PS5, like all of the accessibility features work so much smoother. Like you mentioned about the screen reader, it feels so much more responsive and kind of snappy compared to when you play the PS4 version of The Last of Us Part 2. And yeah, with how like random and mad stuff that they can make, like the controllers do these days, then yeah, why can't they do something like that? I think you need to get you a job at Naughty Dog, Matt.
Yeah.
Yes,
Be your
please,
dream.
please make it happen. Please.
Amazing. So good. I've got a couple of questions left to ask, so I'm going to round things off by asking, can you summarise why accessibility matters to you in like one sentence, if you can? If you can't, then feel free to elaborate further.
No.
But go for it. Yeah.
One sentence. It simply because it means I can play the game without help. Well, just because it means I can play the game. Never mind the without help bit.
Yeah. How about you, Matt?
You don't have to settle for the default setting. That's what the patriarchy is at the end of the day. It's saying there is a default setting to life, and it is men. And the default, then everyone needs to just, that is one speed, and you can only go at that speed. And if you can't go at that speed, then that sucks for you. There you go. There's actually a billion other opportunities that you can try, and it'll actually make your life better as well, not just opening up possibilities for people who it has been closed off to. It's actually good for you as well. And remember, anyone is a second away from some form of disability. Disability isn't something you have, you just have always have had. People, particularly when it comes to age, the world becomes less accessible as we age. The world can change for you like that. So lean into making it as accessible for everyone, and don't just think about yourself.
Excellently
That was more than a
summarised.
sentence.
It's all right. No, lest we forget, we are also feminist gamers, so well done for shoehorning in the patriarchy there. I knew it would come up at some point. And I'm not sure I can add anything more eloquent to those two answers. But for me, I'd say it's actually having the luxury of choice, which is not something you often get. When you're met with barriers to different things, you have to do it a certain way or you don't get access to it. But to have the choice to be able to tailor things to how you might want them to be is something that a lot of people who aren't necessarily disabled might take for granted. And I think that it's something we should pay more attention to. And I guess my last question of the pod would be, for this episode, I'd like to know what games you're looking forward to playing for the rest of 2022.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, if you like. Yeah.
Well, I went straight from Last of Us Part 1 into Part 2 and I've not finished it yet. So I've got about half of that to go. And then by the time I finish that, it'll probably be like approaching the big C word, won't it? Christmas, obviously, for anyone
Yes.
that wasn't sure. And that would generally mean for me revisiting old games and playing them with my family, like Little Big Planet and party games like Jackbox and such.
Excellent.
But I do have half an eye on February and Hogwarts Legacy coming out.
Yes. Very good. Excellent. How about you, Matt? I think I know the answer.
There's one which I have to remain silent until I finished it. Other two are Callisto Protocol. That looks really cool. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It's just the artwork alone for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is enough to pay £70 for it. It's gorgeous.
And I know which one you're staying silent on as well. And it's one that I am going to be playing very soon when it's released on the 9th of November, and that is God of War Ragnarok. But don't worry, I won't be spoiling you, Matt. I promise I will stay very quiet until you tell me that you finished it. And then we can have a big chat. Perhaps even a couple of podcast episodes on it, I'm sure.
So talking of accessibility, that is another one you might want to check out for that, because apparently they've done quite a bit.
Yes, I'm very excited to find out about all of those. They did a massive tweet. I think it was, I can't remember exactly when, that had loads of different tweets to it that explained each of their accessibility additions for this second game. And from what I can tell, it's definitely an improvement. And I will wait to see how much of an improvement, because I'm in my replay of God of War, which I'm doing to prepare for God of War Ragnarok. I've actually customised some of the controls much more than I did the first time I played it, and it's making it a lot easier to play. Like, I've got rid of button taps because I find they fatigue my thumb quite a lot, and also moved the Spartan Rage buttons from the triggers, or the sticks rather, to just pressing X and circle together, which is slightly easier. But generally, in terms of other things, they've got like different coloured subtitles, but only the backgrounds of the subtitles, but not different colours. So there's definitely a lot of room for improvement on the original God of War, but I'll be excited to test out all of those features as they apply to me, and see how it goes from there. That's definitely something I'm looking forward to. And then I guess other games. There's a lot that has come out on the PlayStation Plus recently that I've downloaded but haven't yet played, like Superheart. I want to have a go at Injustice, and I think the Lego Harry Potters are coming out this month. They've announced, which is always a healthy return to childhood gaming for me, anyway. So that should be fun to do, definitely. So we've got plenty to look forward to for the rest of the year. All that's left to say is a massive thank you to Ross for coming on the podcast. Unless you have anything else to mention, go for it, Matt.
I have one final question, which I
course.
want to ask everyone, because I
Yeah.
played through both games twice now. Have had full time to soak in everything and developing my perspective on it. Who is the worst character in the two games combined? It's a universe of grey area, the grey area of violence. Who in that grey universe is the worst person?
That's such an interesting question.
Yeah, a lot of candidates. I think I'll take the easy one and go for David. Incredible performance from Nolan North, obviously, in that first game. But I'll go for David because he was just really weird, wasn't it? Him and his sort of cannibal friends. I'm excited to see actually if David's in the TV show that's coming out at the next year. But yeah, David was not a very nice person.
It's interesting because I remember him very starkly from the first time I played it, and then it was even better this time. And then I didn't find out it was Nolan North until after with the another awesome thing. They've got director's commentary over the the cutscenes in
cool.
part one.
Yeah,
it's awesome. And I have never really. Nolan North hasn't done anything for me. I just thought, he's the godfather of voice acting. He's never actually done anything for me. And then after finding out that he did this incredibly complex, dark character, I suddenly have a universe of respect for him now, because it's such there's a paedophilia aspect to it as well, which I had not remembered from the first time. So he was a cannibal and a paedophile. So yeah.
That's definitely the right word to summarize David, kind of paedophily. But Nolan North seems to do that a lot. Like he pops up in places that you didn't realize it was him. I think I remember him being in like one of the Batman Arkham Asylum games. I think he was like Penguin in one of the sort of original ones, and you would not tell at all that it was Nolan North. But yeah.
So cool.
How about you, Alex?
Well, from my sketchy memory of watching it all on YouTube, I'd say it's a really difficult question, because a lot of the characters you initially think are the worst actually have really justifiable reasons for doing what they're doing. You could argue, like Abby and that sort of thing. You could argue that Joel's the worst character for basically dooming humanity just because he wanted to save Ellie.
Can't shame the dead, Alex. You can't shame the dead. Otherwise, shames David. So
yeah, it's true. It's true. But no, I mean it's a really difficult question and a good one. But I don't know if you have a set character in mind, Matt.
I think I have the definitive answer. It's Owen. Remember Owen, Abby's ex-boyfriend, and
yes,
the father to Mel's baby. Everything in the second game is his fault.
I love that. Matt's like, he's definitively the worst, and then Ross is like, he's quite irritating. Yes.
Very irritating.
Yeah.
He was the one who found Jackson and took Abby to look at it alone, and then she goes down and gets saved by Joel. So otherwise, they would have had to gone down and find a different way. They could have every problem in the second game could have been solved with a few conversations. So that's his fault. And then Mel dies because he wouldn't just fucking stay back, and he shags Abby and wants her to come along, and yeah, it's all his fault. And I stand by that, having played the games again. So I'm glad the question elicited such interesting responses from you two. For me, it's quite shallow.
Always a pleasure. No, you never know. This is what's so interesting about podcasting is you don't know what answers you're going to get from each other, which is always really fun to do. But yes, I think that just about wraps us up for this episode and or episodes if we're splitting it. But yeah, it's been a really great discussion. So thank you very much, Ross, for joining us, and I hope you've enjoyed being a guest on the podcast.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me both.
Fabulous. Matt, do you want to do the old spill? I know you enjoy letting everyone know what they need to do.
I think because we're editing these, splitting these up so much, we may as well record one like thing to stick on the end of each one. But we'll do that.
Yes, we should.
Until then, thank you for watching or listening. Like, share, subscribe wherever you may be watching or listening to us. If you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please do give us a comment, because that is how we get more feminist gaming talk into the eyes and ears of as many people as possible. But until next time, we have been gaming the system. Bye-bye.
Bye.